Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a process called nanoceramic plating. Now, this isn't a new process to us. We have been doing this for, I don't know, maybe 6 or so months within the last little while. But we were not in a position in our last studio to properly teach you guys and show you guys how this works. So in this video, we're going to be talking about what exactly it is, giving you a little bit of tips and tricks, but this is not a full-on tutorial. If you want that, you know who you are if you do need this, then we have that as an option through our membership program. This is very, very hard to find any resources on, and we're trying to be that resource, but we're also a business and we do need to be supported. This video is not sponsored in any way. We've purchased everything ourselves. So if you need that full tutorial video, click down here for that membership option. Make sure you select gold and you'll get access to this video and of course many other videos with that membership. So without further ado, let's get into it. So what exactly is the nanoceramic product? It's virtually scratch proof. It's incredibly hard. It can be worn off with abrasives, but under normal wear and tear, specifically talking about, like in my personal case, my helix piercings, these are sterling silver, and they pretty much look the same as when I first rouge polished them. They've been in my ears now for, I want to say 5 or so months, a long time. Now, of course, I've taken them out and cleaned them. That would be gross if I didn't, but they still look the same as when I polished them. If you're familiar with sterling silver in general, when I was in college, as a real world example, we had to do a polishing exam. And we took a piece of sterling silver and we had to sand it from like 60 grit all the way up to a rouge polish. That was like 60, 80, 120, 220, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a lot of labor. When I finished my little exam, I went and I washed it for my final thing, and washed the polishing compound off, and I wiped it clean with a paper towel, one of those brown recycled ones that you often see in institutions, and I scratched it because silver is just so soft. So with regard to the hypoallergenicness of this material, if you put it over top of, say, a nickel-based metal, or copper or brass or something, where in the case of nickel, there's a lot of people who have nickel sensitivity. Their skin will actively reject it. Or copper, where if you're wearing like a cheap ring, maybe you get that green band around your finger. Same with brass. This coating will prevent that. Now, by no stretch of the imagination should you consider this or call it implant grade, which is when you get into like grade 23 titanium and the ISO numbers I can't recall. But it is definitely something that you could add as an addition to your products for those clients who might be sensitive to those types of metals. Now, I am kind of breaking the rules here with the sterling silver in my ears up here. Body jewelry technically shouldn't be made of sterling silver. It's not hypoallergenic enough. You want to have at least 14 karat or above. If you're interested in that kind of topic, though, around body jewelry and body biocompatibleness, sound off in the comments and we'll make sure that Shannon puts together a video about that, because that's kind of her wheelhouse and she knows quite a bit more about it. So the third reason why you might want to have this material is color. Something that is not very easy to add to jewelry. You don't very often see something like, purple gold is an outlier. Green gold kind of doesn't really look green. You've got rose, you got white, you got your yellow, but maybe you want Barbie pink or something. In our case, what we have actually done is we've put red over top of bronze and made a strawberry that looks quite lifelike. Or these paint tubes, which were designed from actual paint tubes. We 3D scanned them and then we nanoceramic the color on top. I think these are really neat. And there's endless possibilities. You can do lots of different things with this. Now, I believe that Ligor has 12 or 15 different colors. It's really hard to say because their website is, quite frankly, crap. Ligor, if I'm shouting you out right now, you need to fix your website. There's way too much execu-speak about like the sustainability and what it can do. But I just want to know the product. I want to know where I can buy it. So please just give me a catalog that I can actually look at and I can say, I want that green. That looks great. There's none of that to be had. You're going to have to go to one of the Ligor suppliers. In Canada, there are precious few suppliers and they don't even have a catalog. I have to special order it through them. This isn't something that they normally stock. So I'm going off of like Google image searches, and I'm pretty sure there's about 12 to 15 different color options. So it's hypoallergenic, it's basically scratch proof, and you get different color options, which is all very cool. So here's a couple of little pro tips about this material before you buy your first bottle or start investing in equipment, just to make sure that it will actually suit your work. Make sure that the metal is appropriate for this process and can actually handle it. Metals such as titanium or niobium, for example, are mostly hypoallergenic anyway, so maybe you don't need it, but when you run the amount of voltage through them that is required to do this process, you can actually anodize them and change them color. The color underneath the color that you're applying. So you might end up with something a little bit weird. You're gonna have to do some tests and make sure that that doesn't actually happen. Plating nanoceramic over top of gold plating does work. It is very possible. Plating this material over top of jewelry that has stones in it is totally possible. Make sure that those stones are actually appropriate and can handle heat, because this is a process that requires baking at the end at about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Stones like a peridot or a howlite or a cat's eye, for example, those ones are generally considered semi-precious, but if that's the category you're in, make sure that those stones can actually handle it. They don't break, they don't shatter, they're not glued in, stuff like that. Similar to the titanium where you're running a voltage through it, if the stone has been heat treated and 350 degrees might change that, you might end up with a stone that's not the color you put in. Stones like diamonds, rubies, sapphires, spinel, there are lots of stones that can handle heat. Just double check and make sure that you're not in that category, because we don't want any accidents. So let's move on to the topic of the tools. What do you actually need to do this process? First of all, the biggest thing is the rectifier. This is just a DC power source. You'll notice that I actually have two of them. The first one is the cheaper model that we got when we initially started doing plating. This one has a maximum of 30 volts and 10 amps. That's what it can output through these wires. And they're all set up here on the dials. It's a very cheap tool. I think you can get this under 50 bucks. I'll put an affiliate link to like some Amazon ones in the description below. The one underneath it, this guy, is rated for 125 volts, basically pulling power straight from the wall and just shooting it straight down the wires. This one is specifically designed for titanium anodizing. We got this from a company called Caswell. I'm not saying this is the only place that you can get them. We're not affiliated with them in any which way, just saying where we got it from. It's a very hard item to find. If you can find a cheaper one, by all means. It just has to be able to output 120 volts. Now that second rectifier, the 120 volt, is definitely one of the most expensive pieces of equipment as part of this whole setup. I believe from Caswell it comes as a kit specifically designed for anodizing, and it is about $800. But you do get other things. So if you intend on doing titanium anodizing, then you can have it used for both. But by and large, I have a feeling this will end up just being for this in our use case. And if you're only making jewelry, then you're probably gonna end up in the same boat. So it's a big investment that you have to make up front, but this one is pretty good. It's not cheap by any means. You can tell the difference just in the weight, like the amount of capacitors or whatever gears and things are inside it to make it work. I don't know. It's a pretty good little unit, so you can pick that up at the link in the description below. Now, of course, with the rectifiers, you need to have all the leads. You need to have all the beakers and glass to go with it. We bought a pile of beakers. I think we have 6 of them total. There's some underneath here in storage that are all just holding fluids and chemicals and things. I recommend getting 1,000 milliliter or 1 liter options. You can fit more than one option, jewelry in there. You could do 3 or 4 of these, even more if you want to get creative. It holds what comes in the bottle, so you're not going to have it, down to the bottom, and then you have to somehow stretch your piece all the way down to get the plating on it. These are just a really nice size. You can get whatever size you want. I don't care. But I strongly recommend getting borosilicate specifically. Don't go and get those like cheap ones from Michael's that they sometimes put out on like Halloween. They're not very good. You want borosilicate because you might have to heat it. This one over here, this is a magnetic stirrer. This has a heating element, and then there's a motor underneath that keeps everything in solution as well. So you then connect those leads to stainless steel anodes. Make sure they're stainless steel. They offer them in different metal varieties, and stainless steel is definitely the most recommended. Now, to put into those beakers, what solutions do you need? Unfortunately, it's not just a matter of getting the color that you want and just, shaking it on everything and you're good. This is a whole process, much like plating is. You're going to have the first one. This is called SGR1P. This is a degreaser and an electro cleaner. This one works best when it's heated on this particular one with the temperature at about 40 degrees Celsius. This helps activate the degreaser and get rid of any polishing compound and skin greases or anything. Literally makes it as clean as physically possible into all those cracks. You can watch it work actually when you get up close. You can see all the bubbles of hydrogen, I think it is, bubbling off from the surface. And along with those bubbles goes all the gunk, and then it just gets stirred up in the solution, and eventually you have to replace it. The next stage after degreasing, you have to do what's called an acid dip. And that happens with this solution here. This is called NEUT1, N-E-U-T-1. Basically what this is doing is just deactivating the previous cleaning step and preparing it for the next one. The next one then happens to be the color. This one doesn't have to be heated. You can just put it in straight to this beaker right here. This one is just a magnetic stir. You want to make sure you get magnetic stirrers because the particles need to be in suspension. You want to make sure that it's actually agitated. It's just like shaking a paint can or something. You want to make sure that it's all the pigment is where you want it. The last solution that I recommend you get, but also one that I really hope that you never need, is called E-strip. This is the stripping material. It's a very, very strong, powerful solvent that strips off that nanoceramic coating. Now, I'm not going to get too much into that because it's going to be part of the tutorial, but I strongly recommend that you do get it because if you don't have it, it's going to be one of those times when you need it. And this is one of the only things that actually removes this material because it is so, so tough. So now that we've talked about these chemicals, if you're scared off by any of this, by the way, then maybe this process isn't for you because it doesn't really get any better. It's a really great segue talking about powerful solvents into talking about your PPE. Obviously, you need to have gloves. You could get the long, big gloves. I actually have a pair, but I find that they're too big on my hands and I get clumsy. When you're dealing with jewelry-sized objects, our stuff is actually a lot bigger than most jewelry. It just gets really difficult. So I do recommend just wearing normal gloves, get some nitrile. You should have an apron or a smock. I don't actually have one. I should get one. Yeah, I have no excuse. I'll just get one. You should have eye protection, and you should have something for ventilation as well. Those of you who have been following this channel for a while might actually remember what this is. This is the Quattro GFH 1000. This is it was actually designed for burnout. But if you just change the 4-stage filter system that's in here, you can change it from a burnout hood, which scrubs the smoke from your casting, into a plating hood, and it cleans out all the chemicals and things like that. This is one of the reasons why I got this unit in the first place. I knew that we were going to end up moving to plating at some point, and I'm really glad I did, that we're finally at that point business-wise. And then last but not least, there's a couple of ancillaries as well that you do need. One of the biggest ones that I found is really super helpful is this water distiller. Just having distilled water on tap whenever you need it is super helpful because you need to be able to wash between each stage in distilled water. You cannot use mineralized water or deionized or anything like that. It has to be distilled because any chemical other than the purest of water is going to mess with this plating. So this is super handy to have. I will be getting a bigger bottle so I can just run it all the time. This thing doubles as a space heater, which is super handy to have up here in January in Canada. It's just nice to have a tool that does two things. And then of course we have the oven over here that we've alluded to previously. You'll notice that this is not anything too fancy. We went with the Master Chef from Canadian Tire. I think I got it on sale. It was less than $100. You could buy the curing oven from Rio Grande or the one that they'll try to sell you, but they want like $1,000 or something, which is very unnecessary. I'm sure that one is very precise and it does things a little bit better than this one, but this is working great and you can save yourself a ton of money. The only thing that you really need to be sure of when you pick one of these ovens is make sure that you have enough space, because you're not going to be putting your pieces like this on a tray. You're going to have to hang them so that that coating never touches anything until it is actually cooked and baked on. If you do that before it's fully baked, the coating can easily come off. So it's very, not good. I just put the rack as high up as I could go, and I think it'll actually go up a little bit higher if I take out the light. And then I made all these little hooks, and we just attach things with wires to the pieces, and we plate them and then hang them up and bake them. I specifically got this one as well because it has different options. I have it currently set to convection with top and bottom element. So we make sure that we get airflow throughout the entire chamber. We've got top and bottom heating so that the baking is very quick and nice and even. So that's all for this video. We're gonna leave you here and move on into the tutorial. I hope that you found this informative and helped you make a decision if this is right for you guys. Just bear in mind that you're going to have to invest at least $1,500 to $2,000 into tools that only really do this process and maybe metal plating. So make sure that it's worth it for you. Otherwise, maybe reach out to someone who can do it and give it a try. See if your clients even respond well to it, because you never know. And I'd hate to put you guys underwater on something that you don't really need. So if you've already decided that you want this material and you want to learn how to do it, make sure you click over here on that membership button, select the gold tier, and you'll get access to this tutorial video and of course many more.